Revenge films.
My brother-in-law is now getting married, and we're going to have dinner at my parents-in-law's house for her unveiling before the wedding. But to be honest, I'm depressed. My mother-in-law is a good cook and can make a lot of dishes efficiently. But I'm allergic to eggs, so there's a limit to what I can eat. Yet, my mother-in-law tries to force me to eat them, saying that I'm just being selfish by saying I have an allergy. Of course, she is a complete wife snorer. When I married my husband, my mother-in-law cooked the dishes she's proud of, but she didn't like the fact that I couldn't eat them because they all had eggs inside. Of course, I had told my husband that I was allergic to eggs since we started dating, and when we went on dates, he was very careful to take me to restaurants that made an effort to eliminate allergies. So he had told my mother-in-law many times. And yet, my mother-in-law had no idea how scary an egg allergy could be.
Allergy? What's that? Are you a fussy eater?
That's all she knew. My husband repeatedly told her,
No! Allergies are really dangerous!
but she pretended not to hear. So, when my mother-in-law invites me over for dinner, I have to check my food and what I eat, or else I'll be in danger. Once, she had cooked an egg in such a way that it was hidden. When I almost ate it by mistake, my husband saved me by saying,
Don't eat that! It's made with eggs!
That time, my husband and mother-in-law got into a big fight.
How many times do I have to tell you? I told you that Samantha is allergic to eggs, and if she eats it, she'll be in danger!
What are you talking about? How can something as simple as eggs cause a problem? She's just a picky eater.
And so we went in circles. Since then, I stopped eating my mother-in-law's home-cooked food. But it's special this time. It's a celebration for my brother-in-law, whom my husband adores very much, and who has taken good care of me. At first, we were thinking of going to a restaurant, but my mother-in-law wanted to show off her cooking skills, so we ended up having dinner at her house. If it had just been us, we could have handled it. But it was for my brother-in-law's celebration, so we didn't want to ruin it for his fiancée, who was also coming, so we decided to go. When we arrived, we found my mother-in-law's pride dishes lined up on the table. It was indeed a sight to behold, and I could understand why she would want to show it off. Megan said with a smile,
What amazing dishes! They all look so delicious.
My mother-in-law looked very happy and said,
Well, thank you. I'm happy to hear you say so, Megan. Somebody's always nitpicking and won't eat, you know.
I knew she was talking about me, but neither my husband nor I said anything. I just can't eat them because she only serves dishes with eggs to begin with. When we're about to eat, as we introduced ourselves and greeted each other lightly, what is this? At first glance, it looked like she made all kinds of dishes, but they're all using eggs, cleverly. I was troubled because I had nothing I could eat, but there was no way I could say anything in the first place, so I just ate my rice in silence. Then, my husband, who noticed immediately, whispered,
How about this? Or this?
But I shook my head in silence. Even though some of the dishes looked safe at first glance, there really wasn't a single dish that I could eat because of the abundant use of mayonnaise and the use of eggs as an ingredient. I don't know if she really wanted to make me a rude, picky eater or just wanted to make me eat eggs, but my mother-in-law was smirking. My husband saw the look on her face and was clearly annoyed, but he felt the same way, not wanting to ruin his brother's celebration. So he looked at me softly and said,
Sorry.
I nodded and ate my food as naturally as possible. Then Megan noticed and said,
Samantha, if you can't reach anything, please let me know. I'll get it for you.
Oh, sorry. I have an allergy. I tried not to make the place as tense as possible, and Megan said,
Oh, I'm sorry. If you don't mind, what are you allergic to?
Eggs. As I said this in a truly apologetic tone, my mother-in-law said,
Gosh, isn't she rude? It's a celebration and she says I don't want to eat this. What parents would bring up a kid like this?
As expected, my husband tried to open his mouth, but before he could, Megan said,
It's not that she doesn't want to. It's that she can't.
And she glared at my mother-in-law. She was stunned by Megan's words.
Actually, my sister is allergic to wheat. That's why she's always so careful about what she eats. And even when she wants to eat delicious-looking food, she can't. She's never had birthday or Christmas cakes. She's not allergic because she wants to. And it's extremely tough. How can you say that she's rude? Aren't you the one being rude? I studied a lot about cooking for my sister, so I understand. You've used eggs in all these dishes, haven't you? Are you trying to kill your daughter-in-law? She can really die, you know.
Megan talked fast and furiously. My mother-in-law was aghast, and before I knew it, she was hunched over under the table. My brother-in-law, too, had never heard of my allergy before, and said,
Samantha! I'm really sorry. You should have said so too. It's important.
He was angry not only at my mother-in-law, but also a little at my husband. I later heard that my brother-in-law had seen Megan's sister go through a very difficult time with food allergies since he started dating Megan, and had experienced how dangerous it can be to have a seizure, so he was fully aware of the danger. After that, Megan lost her temper with my mother-in-law, and my brother-in-law and my husband blamed her so much that she started crying. But my brother-in-law was still angry and said,
Don't think you can get away with crying! I'll never let you see my children, even if I have them in the future!
What? Why would you say that?
Are you kidding me? Allergies are a matter of constitution. There's a good chance that it'll be passed on to your children, so there's a good chance that Samantha and Megan will pass it down too. But to think my own mother would do something to them? I would never even think of letting you see them! He's right. I've kept my distance from you to begin with, but this whole thing has made me think again. I'm sorry, bro, but I promise I'll make it up to you again. I'm going home. Sorry I ruined it. No, I'm sorry, even though I didn't know.
I'm really sorry, Samantha. Please, take care of yourself.
No, I'm sorry. It was your celebration.
No, I'm really glad that nothing happened to you.
Megan was really worried about my health because of her sister's situation.
Wait a minute. I worked so hard for the meal, you know. Are you really leaving?
She said to my brother-in-law, but he said with fiery words,
Of course! You're the one who ruined it! You played with Samantha's life!
I never meant that.
I'm sorry, but I don't want to see your face anymore. Me neither.
With this, we left her house. A few days later, she called both my husband and brother-in-law several times to apologize, but not a single phone call was made to me. My husband said,
I'm really fed up with my mother after what happened. I'm sorry for everything. You don't have to see her anymore.
My husband had mentioned my allergy to my mother-in-law many times, and she had every chance to change her mind. But not only did she not do so, but she still tried to do something to me. I believe she got what she deserved. My husband told me that my brother-in-law and Megan were quite mad with my mother-in-law's behavior so far, even though she knew about my allergy, and were thinking of cutting ties with her, just like my husband. Well, I was lucky I didn't eat anything this time, but if I had, I would have developed dyspnea, and my life would have been in danger for sure. Allergies are really dangerous, but she had been acting the way she did knowing that I had an allergy. I don't think there's any room for sympathy for my mother-in-law.
I have a prosthetic leg. It happened 4 years after I got married. I drove drunk and hit a light post. My daughters were 3 and 0 at the time. My wife was in her late 20s. It was all my fault. Needless to say, both our parents yelled at me for weeks. But at least I didn't hurt anyone else, my dad said to me. They told me to get a divorce. I lost my job, so I was broke. I couldn't even walk by myself anymore. There was no way I could raise my children. And they were right to say so. I couldn't let my wife take care of our kids and a crippled husband. I just couldn't do it. My brother told me to hand over all the savings I had to her. I didn't even know what to think anymore. So I did. Then I signed the divorce papers, like they said. Afterwards, they all moved out and went to live with my ex-wife's parents. It was all gone. I was all alone in the house. I had lost everything. I lost a reason to live. But a month later, she came back with the kids. Turns out she never submitted the divorce papers. She used to be a housewife, but she landed a solid job in the past month. At first, I couldn't believe that they were back. I thought maybe she just forgot something at the house. But she looked at me and said,
"At least you're alive. We'll figure it out."
Both our parents were against this, but she came back anyways. I'm sure they tried to do everything they could to stop her. But she still came back. I didn't deserve her. I started crying. I've never cried in front of her before. I didn't cry when they told me to hand in the divorce papers, or to hand over all my savings. I didn't even cry when she left the house. I was so relieved. I couldn't stop crying. My wife worked hard and did everything around the house for me. I thought my life was over, but now everything was starting to look up. I couldn't take back what I did, but I did everything I could to help my wife out. Then I started studying to get a new job. I could still work as long as it was from home. A few months later, I finally landed a job and started working from home. My wife was so amazing. She never once complained about anything. I couldn't do anything around the house, and when I tried, I was really bad at it. I couldn't even look after the kids. But somehow, she did it all while having a full-time job. It couldn't have been easy. Even I knew that. But she didn't even complain about it. Not once. She said it was her decision to come back, and that she was ready for anything. She was so tough. I felt so grateful. 2 kids, work, housework, and a crippled husband. It wasn't smooth sailing for her, but she was always smiling. And seeing her like this helped me get my life back in order. We both worked hard. I started getting more work too. When I first started, I made less than half of what my wife was bringing home, but she was still grateful. She wasn't expecting me to work in the first place, so she was pretty surprised when I first showed her my paycheck.
"You made all this in a month? That's amazing!"
She was thinking about doing it all by herself, so this came as a surprise to her. After years of hard work, I was finally able to make more money than I used to. Our parents still complained about me from time to time, but when they found out that I was making good money and contributing to the family, they stopped. Life was good. Now that we had more time and money, we started going out more often as a family. I had to wear a prosthetic leg so we could only go to nearby parks at first. But after I got used to walking around, we started going on long vacations too. I thought my life was over when I got into that accident, but thanks to my wife, I was able to get my life back. Years later, it was almost our 25th anniversary. I realized I had to do something special for her. I did some research online. I decided to throw her a surprise wedding. We didn't throw a wedding when we first got married, so I thought she'd really like this. But I was just an old man. I needed help, so I decided to ask my daughters. One was already married, and the other was in college now. They were really excited about this, so we got to planning. I had the best daughters in the world, and it was all thanks to my wife. I was so grateful. They were so resourceful too. They gathered all kinds of information from me. They even found out my wife's dress size. I talked to our parents and told them about the surprise wedding. They were pretty old now, but they seemed really excited. I wanted to keep it a secret until the very last minute, but my daughters disagreed.
You know how Mom is. She always likes to be prepared.
She was right. So I decided to tell her a month before. It was for the best. And so, we all got together and told her. Man, the look on her face when we told her was priceless. She was really excited about our wedding. My older daughter helped her get ready on our big day. and everyone else seemed really happy for us too. I put them through a lot, so I was just glad to see them smiling like that. During the ceremony, I wrote a letter to my wife for the first time in my life. It took me forever to write it. I told her that I loved her, that I needed her, and that I didn't deserve her. But it was kinda embarrassing to read it out loud in front of everyone. When I finished reading, she started crying. I wasn't the best writer, but I guess she got my message. Then, seeing her cry made me cry too. Everything that happened to us, it just came flashing back. I couldn't hold it in. Then, everyone started crying. It took a long time to plan this, but I was just so glad that I did it. And it's all thanks to my wife. She could have just left me, but didn't. She saved my life. Literally. I don't even want to think what my life would be like if she had left me. On our wedding day, our older daughter surprised us by telling us that she was pregnant.
I'm gonna be a grandma? I feel so old,
said my wife, but she seemed really happy. She bragged about it to her friends all the time, and she went to the store to get things for the baby almost every day. Seeing her smile made me so happy. Her smile meant everything to me. I loved her so very much. Thanks for everything, babe.
My husband and I are the same age, around 50. We got married and wanted to have children, but we suffered from unexplained infertility and tried infertility treatment. But in the end, we gave up because we could not have children. We went out several times a year to visit scheduled hot springs, as it was a common hobby of ours. And we found different hobbies and enjoyment in each other's lives. We didn't have children, but we were both fulfilled every day. We had different jobs, but earned about the same amount of money and split our living expenses. I did most of the housework, about 9 to 1. But since I was the one that liked to cook and clean, I had no complaints. Instead, I was satisfied with him weeding the garden several times a year. We were embarrassed to celebrate our wedding anniversary, but we would go out to eat at restaurants we would not normally go to on our anniversary. I thought how happy we were, and how I hoped we would continue to grow old together. We spent our days like that, and before I knew it, 25 years had passed since we got married. Hey, it will soon be our silver wedding anniversary. Do you want to celebrate with a little extravagance for once? I asked him in a joking way, but my husband's face clouded over and he didn't say anything. But I didn't think too much of his attitude and just wondered if something had happened with his work. About 2 days later, my husband suddenly told me,
I want to be alone.
When he first said this to me, it didn't really hit me. Sure, when? The next day off? Then I'll go shopping alone. I remember saying such a dumb thing. What my husband meant by alone was completely different from what I had in mind. He shook his head and said seriously,
That's not what I meant. I want to live on my own from now on.
I could only ask, why? As if it was out of the blue, and I kept on asking him to give me the reasons. My husband just answered,
It's all my fault. I'm the one to blame. It's because of my weakness.
Did you cheat on me? I asked him, but he would only answer, I didn't cheat on you. I just want to be alone. But that's not convincing enough. When I asked him if I want to be alone meant that he wanted to get a divorce, he replied,
If I could, yes. I want to spend the rest of my life living freely, without trying to please you.
When I asked him if he was trying to please me that much, he said,
Trying to please you is a little different.
And after thinking about it for a while, he said,
I'm the type of person who wants my wife to follow me down the road from behind.
I thought, I don't know what to make of him saying that after being married for almost 25 years. Up until now, I thought that we were the type of couple who would take each other's hands and move forward at the same pace. But I was alone in my thinking. He further tells me that his colleagues at work and friends from college all seem to be the type of couple where the wife takes a step back consulting with her husband before deciding on even the smallest purchase. Going on trips alone were outrageous, and he longed for that kind of marital relationship. I thought we were financially equal, so I would make some of my decisions and report back to him later, except when there was a big money decision involved, such as buying a new appliance, receiving insurance, or when there was a wedding, funeral, or other occasions. I also went on trips with friends, but I usually said, "I'm going on a trip to blank, from the blank," when we had made arrangements for hotels about 2 months in advance. He had never complained about it, and I thought it was a 50-50 situation, because he also went on trips with his friends. Then why didn't you tell me then? I had never been warned or complained about anything until now, so I can't suddenly accept something like that. I can't accept that as a reason you want a divorce, I said.
So it's not your fault. I've been saying that it's all my fault, that I'm the one to blame, and that it's because I'm weak. I'm divorcing you for a selfish reason so I can discard the division of property. If you want alimony, you can have the whole condo under your name.
I asked him, "Do you want a divorce that badly?" My husband replied,
Please, I just want to start my life over again.
and he would not listen to my opinion. I was so shocked that he wanted to leave me that badly that he took a few days off work and cried. I thought it would have been better if he told me that he had cheated on me, or that he found someone else he liked. I felt so sad thinking that my husband has been putting up with me for the past 25 years. After crying as much as I could, I felt a little better and decided, I'll just take it all and leave him. In fact, I left him with all of our savings and the whole of our condo. I asked him, "Are you sure about this? You're sure I can have everything?" He said,
I said you could.
and left the condo before I did with a clear face. With this, our 25-year marriage came to an easy end. After our divorce, I learned that my husband had inherited about $150K from my late father-in-law. The money is probably the cause of making him want to live freely. I considered this a good thing as I didn't have to feel guilty and sold the condominium and used the money to buy a house with a large garden in the countryside. I cultivated the land and grew a farm and was able to live the country life I always dreamed of. My husband was a genuine city boy, and ever since we got married, he had always said that if we were going to buy a house, we would buy a condominium in a place that was convenient. I always believed I'll only be able to live in the countryside after my husband passes away, and never dreamed that I would be able to live like this while I was still healthy. But a year later, I received a call from my ex-husband.
Can we get back together?
Why? You left me because you didn't want to live with me.
I realized how comfortable my life was with you only after we got divorced. I was depending on you too much. I was completely wrong. Please forgive me. Please, let me start over.
When I refused and said, "But we can't start over now," he said,
But you were happy living with me, weren't you?
no matter what he said, there was no way I could get back together with him. What does he make of people's feelings? But you're the one who crushed that feeling of mine. Who are you to say that now? When I said that, my husband said,
I will never say or think about getting a divorce again. I need you.
When I started living on my own, I realized that my life with you was a surprisingly heavy burden on me. Thank you for letting me know. Thank you for leaving me. I am happier now than I have ever been in my life. I told him and hung up the phone. I have not heard from my husband since then, but a friend of mine who happened to see him said he had a stubble beard, was dressed shabbily, and was on the lam. My husband was not a well-paid man, but I worked and we made ends meet, so he had a good life and was able to save money. But when he got the 150K, he resigned from his job. Don't ask me why. My husband, who had never managed money before, must have thought since he was living without any convenience, even with his own salary, he could live well with the 150K without having to work after getting divorced. He probably thought he could finally live a free life, but the money seems to have mostly run out within a year. He lost his house and his job and was forced to live homeless. I guess he didn't care about me from the beginning, so he thought he could get a divorce after receiving his inheritance. Or thought he could get back to me if he made an excuse. I really felt that he was a shallow and selfish person. At first, it was hard for me to get over him, and sometimes I was haunted by the memory of him. But now, I truly feel glad that I don't have to live with such a person for the rest of my life. My husband's hobby is fishing. About twice a month, he goes to the beach and catches all kinds of fish.
Look! I got this many fish today!
No way! You didn't buy them?
I'm no Homer Simpson! Why would I try to look good?
There are days when he can't catch any fish, but sometimes he would come home carrying a huge amount of fish. And on a day like this, we can't eat them all by ourselves, so we share them with our neighbors. But on this particular day, he had caught quite a lot of fish. So we went around not only to several neighbors' houses, but also to the homes of the district president and other people who had been taking care of us. When we arrived home after distributing the food, I found that the cooler we had left at the door was gone. Hey, didn't we leave the box with the fish right here when we left?
Huh? Did we?
As soon as we got back, I wanted to take the rest of the fish to the fish store. I left them here to be cleaned. As I went into the house and looked around for the box, I noticed something odd. Hold on! The wardrobe is open! And the bag that was here is gone!
We got broken into!
My husband and I panicked at the sudden situation. Oh my, we have to call the police! The police immediately came and investigated everything. But in the end, they could not find anything except that the culprit had apparently used a spare key to enter the house, and they could not identify the culprit. The next day, however, things suddenly changed. Who could it be? Yes, who are you? Oh, and the police! What in the world is going on? There was a woman with weepy eyes, a man with a gloomy face, and the police.
You!
The woman strikes at me.
You murderer!
Ma'am, calm down!
The man and the policeman who was accompanying them seized her, but the woman continued to rage.
My mother died because of the fish you poisoned! You're gonna die too!
What she was saying was incoherent, but the summary of what she was shouting follows. The fish I got from you yesterday was poisoned. That's why my mother died. So you're going to die too.
It's true that she died. That's why I need you to explain to us properly.
The man who seemed to be her husband also questioned me, but I was the one who wanted an explanation. Well, it seems that you ate the fish I gave you, but I only shared with the people I know. I've never met you before, and I'm sure I didn't visit you yesterday.
Huh? Is that so? That's very different from what my wife told me.
I'm sorry, but what did you eat?
Blowfish. It seems she was poisoned by the blowfish.
A blowfish? A blowfish was indeed in our cooler yesterday. Don't tell me you cleaned and ate that yourself. After talking this far, I finally understood. This crying woman was a burglar. Here's what happened. Yesterday, while my husband and I were going around sharing the fish, the woman used the spare key we left in our mailbox. We were stupid. To break in. While stealing jewelries and bags, she also took the cooler with her and cooked it at home. Her mother ate it and died from the poison.
I thought if it was something you could handle and eat yourself, there couldn't be any poison.
We don't clean it out ourselves. There's a fishmonger in the neighborhood who is certified, so when we catch it, we ask him to clean it for us.
Oh, so that's what happened. Then the questioning will be easy. No way. It can't be. My wife would never do such a thing. Hey, why are you quiet? Just to be sure, may we check your house now?
Later, when they searched the woman's house, they found a large amount of stolen precious metals and bags from the back of the closet that the husband didn't recognize. In addition, there are traces in her company history that she had been selling the stolen items on auction for quite some time. The woman was a habitual burglar. She had been breaking into her neighbors' houses while they were away and stealing their valuables. In addition, it was later discovered that she was also a habitual shoplifter at a nearby supermarket, and the total amount of damages was outrageous. I heard from a well-informed neighbor that the husband went around apologizing to the neighbors who had been victims of burglary and was fired from his job. So he moved back to his parents' house, which was a plane ride away with his child. I felt really bad for him, seeing him drawn and haggard. The woman was a habitual burglar and would not be able to avoid jail time. So we were told that she would not be coming out of jail for some time. The woman was later sentenced for 5 years in prison. However, this was not the end of the story. One day, about a week after the mother was arrested... what shall I make for dinner tonight? The moment I went outside to go shopping, I heard someone running towards me. I turned my head towards the sound and saw a boy with a knife.
This is to avenge my grandma's death!
He swung the blade at me with all his might, and I dodged just in time. But the blade grazed my arm a little. The wound was shallow, but the boy raised the blade again at me, as I was too scared to move from this sudden incident. At that moment...
Hey, you! Do you know what you're doing? This is a fine attempted murder. What grudge do you have against her to do such a thing?
You messed up my family!
What?
My mom got arrested because of you! She told me when I visited her! She said she was arrested for a crime she didn't commit! She said it was all your fault that Grandma died too!
You're that woman's son.
I didn't do anything. What on earth did your mother say?
She said you were the one who gave us the blowfish, saying that it was deep-poisoned!
That's a lie. Do you know why your mother was arrested? She broke into our house, and while she stole our valuables, she also took the blowfish we had at our house. Ask the police for all the evidence, and they'll tell you. They have all the evidence, so it's not a false charge.
You know, blowfish is a dangerous fish that must not be cleaned unless you have a license. It was your mother who didn't know that and cleaned it herself and served it to your grandma. It was your mother who killed your grandma.
No!
A neighbor who noticed the situation called the police, and the matter was resolved. The police told us that the boy was still a 5th grader, so he could not be charged with the crime. And since he was his grandma's boy, he had committed the crime because he believed his mother's words. He was placed in a children's support facility as a temporary measure. The mother, on the other hand, was further charged with aiding and abetting the murder by telling lies to her husband from jail. The husband then took his son and moved back to his parents' house once he was finally out of the facility. Naturally, he and his wife got divorced. I felt really sorry for him. Several years later, when the woman was about to be released from prison, we moved to a place near the sea, which had been my husband's dream for a long time. And now we are living peacefully. He goes fishing almost every day. This mackerel is delicious!
How can you eat so much after all that's happened to you?
Fish hasn't done anything wrong. But every time the scar on my arm tingles, I vividly recall that time. I'm glad I'm alive. I may have never been able to eat such delicious fish again. My name is Rose. I'm a vocational school student and I live with my mother. My father died 2 years ago. This day was the 3rd anniversary of his death. My relatives came from far and wide to celebrate the anniversary of my father's death, but it was my aunt's daughter, and I really didn't want Nancy, who was older than me, to come. Nancy was a very flamboyant person, always making fun of me, calling me lame, ugly, etc. I was very relieved when she got married and moved far away, but since we are relatives, I have to see her during these big family events.
Hi, is Rose here?
Oh no, she got here. Nancy came dressed extremely flamboyantly. I questioned her common sense. Where is Aunt? You didn't come with her?
My mom has to run some errands, so I think she'll come over later.
Okay. As I was talking to her, a child came running into the bedroom at a very fast pace. Mary's getting older now, isn't she? The child running around the room was my niece, Nancy's child. She is still in elementary school, but she is very cheeky, probably because of her mother's personality. Last year, when she came with my aunt, my niece entered the room without permission, made a mess as much as she could, and took some of my pretty things. My aunt has always been kind, and I like her, but I just don't like this mother and daughter.
Rose, I'm thirsty. I need a drink.
Oh, yes. I'll give you orange juice then.
Well, I'll put up with that, so give it to me now.
Like this, her attitude is cheeky. Where is your husband?
He said he had work to do, so I don't know. Anyway, I'm tired, so I'm going to rest.
Oh, yeah, you can sit down. Nancy's husband is named Tom, and he is a solid man who works for a large company. I thought Nancy would act a little more mature if he came with her, but neither he nor my aunt were there. And I was very disappointed. It was still early, so I started organizing my room. Suddenly, Mary said,
That's a cool watch. Give it to me. My dad would get mad if I touched his watch, but it wouldn't be a problem if I touched Rose's watch, would it?
Then she pointed to the watch that was carefully displayed on a shelf. Huh? Oh, sorry. I can't give you this watch. It's a very important watch.
Give it to me!
Sorry, I can't really give you this one. When I say no, my niece said,
Just lend it to me!
Then she took the watch from the shelf and ran out of the room. Oh, wait a minute! That's a real no-no! As I hurriedly chased after Mary, and she threw the watch into the garden pond. I hurriedly picked up the watch from the pond, but it was a non-waterproof watch, so it stopped working. No way!
Idiot! Because you didn't give me the watch fast enough, suck on that!
Then, Mary went away with a laugh. I was so shocked that I immediately explained the situation to Mary's mother, Nancy. However, Nancy responded with some outrageous words.
Don't overreact with one watch. It was a child mischief, and it's the job of adults to forgive them.
She's in elementary school right now? Even if she's a child, she can at least distinguish between right and wrong. Besides, when I appraised this watch, it's worth more than $50,000. To begin with, the watch was the only one of its kind in the world, and it was very important.
$50,000? I usually buy brand name stuff, so I have a good eye, you know. I bet that watch costs about $100. Can you stop complaining about it?
That is wrong. Besides, your daughter broke my watch, so there is something else to tell me, right? She took my precious thing without my permission and threw it into the pond.
Shut up. Here, I'll give you $50. You can buy a new watch with that. You're a real loudmouth, aren't you?
I've told you many times. This was irreplaceable. Besides, this watch is more than that.
Yes, okay. I'll check if that watch is really expensive. Just give it to me.
Nancy took my watch from me and started looking something up on her smartphone.
This will clarify if it's true or not.
I thought she had submitted a request to an appraiser, but she was in a good mood and just looking at her phone. Then my aunt arrived there. Rose, it's been a long time. Aunt, long time no see. How have you been? What's that? Why is that watch soaking wet? It's not waterproof, is it? When I tried to tell my aunt what happened, Nancy pushed me.
Hey, listen, Mom. Rose wants me to pay for this old beat-up watch because it's expensive, just because Mary got it a little wet. Don't you think that's terrible?
I didn't say that. In the first place, Mary took the watch from my room and threw it into the pond, and yet neither of them apologized to me. My aunt, who had heard our exchange, said in a snarling, quiet voice, Nancy, is it true what Rose is saying? Did Mary throw this watch into the pond?
But that's something a kid would do.
A child? Are you raising your daughter to be an elementary school student who can't tell the difference between what is right and wrong?
So, Mom, I paid Rose back properly earlier. I gave her $50.
Don't be silly. This watch is not something that can be reimbursed for that amount of money, okay? My brother was a famous engineer. That watch was made when my brother was very successful in a big competition. There are only a few of these watches in the world, and they are numbered. It's Rose's memento and prized possession, and you destroyed it?
No way!
I'm not lying. Surprised by my aunt's explanation, Nancy suddenly checked her phone as if she had just remembered.
What? Oh my gosh.
Huh? What is this? You said you were going to send it for evaluation. Why are you putting it up for auction? Nancy was auctioning off my father's watch. Even though the contents stated that the watch had been immersed in water and would not run, collectors were bidding tremendously high for the limited edition model. Cancel it right now.
It's been bid so high, you know. It's already broken and you don't want it. I'll take it for you. You don't want a watch that works anymore.
The watch was bidding high, and Nancy was selfish in her desire for money. But my aunt said, "Enough, you idiot!" and quickly took Nancy's phone to cancel the auction.
Hey, I was going to get a lot of money.
This is Rose's. There is no way you can have it. That's enough. Nancy was about to say.
If this money comes in, even the debt...
From behind her suddenly.
What debt are you talking about?
Oh my gosh, Tom! No, it's nothing.
Nancy panicked, but my aunt and Tom forced her into another room. And they also took my niece, Mary, who broke the watch. The four of them went to the room farthest from the living room, but Nancy and Mary's cries were very loud and echoed throughout the house. When they were finished talking, Tom said to me,
I'm very sorry, Rose. I'll send your watch to a trusted technician for repair and promise to restore it to its original condition. I'll pay the compensation too. I'm sorry you had a bad experience.
I'm so sorry. I feel very bad too. I'm sorry. Mary, who must have been thoroughly scolded by both of them, turned red, looked sad, and cried.
I'm so sorry.
Nancy, looking as lifeless as an old woman, said,
I'm sorry.
After that, everyone came together, and the 3rd anniversary of my father's death was successfully completed. Nancy and her family then left the house. Later, my aunt brought me a watch that had been repaired in compensation. My aunt told me that since then, Nancy has had her credit cards and cash taken away, and all her brand name clothes and other items sold. There was a talk of divorce, but Nancy managed to avoid it by crying to her husband. Currently, she is working 8 hours a day, 6 days a week, between her job at the convenience store and the deli job at a supermarket to pay off her debts.
My name is Jake. Today I'm off to the store with my wife. This store is a little expensive, and we go here once every month.
We're only going to buy things we need.
I know.
I'm going to be angry if you buy expensive cheese again.
It was pretty crowded since it was the weekend. We brought our cart over to the line at the register.
Are we done yet? Stand still and be quiet.
The child behind was getting irritated, most likely because he was bored.
I'm so bored. Let's go.
I'm not surprised the child is bored.
Stand still. No!
Ow! Ow! The cart the child was holding was hitting my leg from behind. The child didn't seem to know that it was hitting me. Since I was a little irritated myself, I decided to tell the child. Hey, could you stop? The cart is hitting my leg, you know.
No! I'm so bored.
The child can't even apologize, huh? Can't the mother say something? She's just looking at her phone! Excuse me, ma'am. Can you say something to your child? He's hitting my leg.
He's a kid. It has nothing to do with me.
What? This lady! My wife seemed to have enough of this as well, so she let the lady and child go first.
Excuse me? You can go first. Yay! You finally understand? Childless people are so ignorant.
The mother ran and bumped into my wife.
Ow!
My wife dropped our basket. Are you okay?
Ow! I think I hurt my wrist.
The mother was still looking at her phone, even at the register. I was irritated by this as well. Excuse me, we let you go first, and in return, you hurt my wife's wrist.
A young couple like you shopping here? You know, maybe you need to think about where you shop. You don't belong here, you know.
What? As she said that, she dropped her foot on our basket on purpose to kick our things around.
Putting food on the floor, huh? Nasty.
The staff was ignoring the whole deal, and they just stared at the cash register. I almost told her to help out at least a little when...
I deeply apologize.
Oh no, that look. She's definitely angry. No one can stop her at this stage.
I don't think this store was ignorant for people with no common sense. We need to shop at a store where people with common sense shop. I'm sorry to increase your workload, but could you return all of these items back to the shelf? I will apologize directly to the HQ about your increased workload.
As she said that, she bowed deeply and started walking out of the store. Then the store manager came rushing in, hearing the commotion. "Miss, I deeply apologize," he said very rushingly. However,
Why are you apologizing? You guys did nothing wrong here.
her smile made the manager shiver. We were called to the back office and my wife explained everything that happened. But the mother was still not budging.
What did I do wrong? Those people and the store has no common sense.
You're the one with no common sense. Please, ma'am, calm down. If there isn't an issue, then an explanation would be worth everyone's time. Looking at the mother's attitude, I almost got angry, but I knew I needed to keep my cool. The manager was checking the video footage. And he checked that the cart was hitting my leg and that the mother was purposefully kicking our basket on the ground.
This is all a lie. You guys are setting me up.
There was plenty of evidence here, but the mother still wouldn't budge, which confused everyone there. The manager then told the mother something she didn't want to hear. "Ma'am, please be quiet!" Then the manager looked over at me. "Sir, what do you want to do? Do you want to call the police? It seems you guys were both injured." The mother looked like she didn't like this one bit.
Huh? The police? For this?
But the manager and I both ignored her because she was annoying. "No, we want to go to the hospital first, and we'll discuss what to do afterwards." I didn't notice because I was so irritated, but when I checked my leg, I noticed that my pinky toe was bleeding because of the child's cart hitting it pretty hard. I got her contact information on the spot and left. When we got to the hospital, we figured out my wife's wrist was sprained and my toenail was chipped and toe bone was broken. I didn't notice it when I was scared about my wife, but no wonder it hurt. We got a doctor's note and went back home to figure out what to do.
We should probably go to the police.
My wife said, but suddenly our door rang.
I wonder who it is.
There stood a man who told us was the husband of the mother.
I deeply apologize for what happened. I'll pay for the hospital bills, so please, don't go to the police.
Next to him was his wife with a red face, standing sulkingly. Apparently, the manager had called him to pick up his wife and child.
You apologize too.
I'm sorry.
You injured someone. Apologize.
I'm so sorry.
We weren't clear who she was apologizing to. But apparently the mother had a record of having the police called on her, so they couldn't risk that again. The husband was apologizing with tears in his eyes, but we didn't care about any of that. Thanks for the apology, but we're going to the police now, no matter what. The husband looked shocked, but the mother didn't look like she was apologizing about anything that she did. Maybe if she did look like she was apologizing, we'd change our minds. But she injured both of us, so we couldn't just let her slide for this. We went to the police, and with the help of the store manager, the mother was arrested and is currently serving her time in jail. I think people like her need to spend time there. But I don't believe she'll have changed when she's finally let out. I wonder why the normal-looking husband was with a crazy woman like her. The father and child went back to the father's home, but they gave us the compensation money. I'm guessing the child will be much like the mother. But I hope that the father will be able to fix that broken character of his, so the child grows up to be a decent person. The store apologized to us as well, and gave us discount coupons and some snacks too.
That was pretty tough, huh?
Yep, it was awful. We're happy about the coupons, but the store staff didn't necessarily help. So we don't plan to go back to that store anytime soon.
After my boyfriend of 3 years proposed to me, we started planning for our wedding. However, he cheated on me by sleeping with my friend's friend Alyssa after they got drunk at a house party. He kneeled and confessed to me, and he said,
"Let's break up."
according to him, he couldn't forgive himself for what he had done. And he was so disgusted with himself that he wouldn't be able to love his future child. Of course, in retrospect, I shouldn't have given him a second chance, not only because he cheated on me before our wedding, but also because he was so full of himself and disgusting. But at the time, I didn't want to disappoint my parents, relatives, and friends because I knew they were all very looking forward to our wedding. So I pleaded with him not to call off the wedding. I said, it happened only because you were drunk, not because you wanted to cheat. I'll forgive you. Let's start over. I was also kind of afraid that no one would ever love me as much as he did. When I sought advice from my friends, they all said the same thing. That's not true. Of course there'll be someone else. It's so much better to break up now than after the wedding. I didn't listen to my friends because it all sounded like sympathy to me. I was so preoccupied with the idea of saving our wedding, so I tried to persuade him desperately not to break up with me. I was in a loop of trying to persuade him, getting rejected by him, and then crying about it at night. One day, he finally admitted that he didn't love me anymore, which broke my heart. I was anguished for the next 2 months and I lost 11 pounds. I grew weary of persuading someone who cheated on me to stay, so I agreed to break up with him. He said,
"I'll give you a compensation that's 3 times the market price."
I replied, "You should pay me 20 grand. His face fell immediately and he said,
Are you crazy? This type of compensation is like $200. I'll throw in a little extra and give you $700. Stop asking for more, I'll see you in court.
When we were preparing for our wedding, I paid the deposit for our new home and spent money on furniture and other things. I didn't think twice because I thought we would soon be having a joint bank account anyway. Seems like he included the money I spent into his compensation. Seriously, he better quit playing. What market price is he even referring to? What kind of compensation is this? It was bad enough that he cheated on me while we were preparing for the wedding. All of our friends' efforts preparing for the wedding were all in vain too. They bought new clothes and bags and planned to use their vacation days to attend my wedding. When I told both his and mine friends what he said to me, everyone got furious with him. My friend introduced Alyssa to me for the first time at the house party. I didn't know Alyssa was having her eye on my ex-fiancé from the beginning. My friend also didn't have a clue at the time. She felt so guilty for bringing Alyssa to the party, which ended up ruining my marriage. It's true that none of these would have happened if she didn't bring Alyssa to the party. But I didn't blame my friend because I knew it was not her fault. It seemed like Alyssa was satisfied with going out with my ex-fiancé. She would brag about herself to her friends with a triumphant look on her face. He chose me because I'm so much more attractive. My fiancé was happy about that situation as well. He couldn't wait to pay me the $700 so they can go public with their relationship. I was just not ready to let that happen yet. At first, I didn't tell neither his parents nor mine that he had cheated because I still wanted to marry him. Since the wedding was already cancelled, I told both of our parents everything. I talked about how I still wanted to marry him, even after he cheated, and how I got turned down by him because he didn't have any feelings for me anymore. I also told him that our wedding was cancelled. He looked very happy dating the woman he cheated with. After hearing the whole story, my parents were angry, of course, but his parents were outraged. His parents own a fancy high-end restaurant in the city. They're wealthy, and they value their reputation a lot. Even I was asked to learn etiquettes when we were preparing for the wedding. They couldn't believe that their son not only broke off the engagement after cheating with another woman, but also had already been dating with her. Of course, I already knew what was going to happen after. As expected, I got a call from him soon.
Why did you tell my parents?
Are you stupid or something? Didn't you call off the wedding? Of course we need to give our parents a good explanation on why the wedding was canceled.
Why did you think it was necessary to tell them all the details? Now they know everything.
Don't you know how big of a deal it is to cancel a wedding? It's not only about us. All our family members and guests deserve to know why the wedding was off.
My dad is furious at me because of what you did. What am I supposed to do? I should have paid you the $700 compensation sooner to get this over with so I can be together with Alyssa. You've got to fix this.
My friends were right about this. Now I get why they told me that I would regret marrying you.
What? Stop messing with me. Fix this now.
What are you even saying? You started it and you made a choice, didn't you? I said I'd forgive you, but all you wanted to do was break up with me. Well, I'm done talking with you. Then I hung up. He was later disowned by his parents. They said,
We don't need a son who rubs dirt in our faces.
the money I paid before the wedding was reimbursed by his parents. His parents said,
He's not our son anymore. We apologize for everything that's happened. Please tell your parents we're very sorry.
on top of the reimbursement, his dad gave me extra money as compensation to my parents. My ex-fiancé lost his house and car afterwards. Apparently, his parents took back everything they bought for him. A lawyer was also sent to manage his salary from now on. The money his parents gave me would be deducted from his paychecks. He was under so much stress that he dumped Alyssa immediately. Alyssa was bragging to everyone about how he had chosen her over me not so long ago. She became a laughingstock and seemed to have lost all her friends. People said she was the worst because she deliberately sabotaged other people's marriage by making a move on someone who was engaged. My ex-fiancé was naive to think that he'd be able to pretend nothing's ever happened if he paid me a compensation fee. He probably never thought he'd be losing his house and car and disowned by his parents. Finally, he was forced to understand the gravity of the situation. One day, he came knocking on my door abruptly and said,
I'm sorry. You said you would forgive me before. Let's have a proper wedding. Let's get married and live happily ever after.
What a stupid line. Because I was so disgusted by him, I said, What are you doing? Our engagement was broken off. Now I have nothing to do with you anymore. Do you get it?
But you said you could forgive me and still marry me.
I did say that, but you rejected me and said you didn't want to be with me. Most importantly, your parents know now.
I'm sorry! My parents disowned me and took everything back after the wedding got canceled. You're gonna help me, right? If we get married this time, they might reconsider everything. Please.
You're really a piece of trash. I'm sorry, but I'm glad our wedding was canceled. Why would I ever marry a scum like you? I slammed the door shut, but he continued to scream nonsense outside the door. I got annoyed, so I said, I'm calling the police. He got scared and ran away as fast as he could, because he thought canceling a wedding was as easy as breaking up with a girlfriend. I'd say that he deserves every punishment he got. Since his parents are getting their money back from his salary, I'm sure there'll be hardly any money left for him. I've been working in this office for about a year now. Everyone in the office, including the CEO, is really kind, even to a part-time worker like me. But half a year later after I started to work, the CEO's son, age 48, became the new CEO. He basically took over. I thought he would be a good person, but I was definitely wrong. He thought that normal employees were all part-time workers, and the CEO was above everyone else, and despised whoever talked back to him. I heard a part-time worker talk back at him, and he was scolded and forced to quit the company. As for me, I didn't want to get too involved with him, so I worked hard and kept my distance from him. However, he didn't like me and wanted to pick on me for keeping distance with him. He started to pick on me about non-work related things.
Hey, what's with that look? Is that something you should wear to work?
I don't think I'm breaking any rules.
Are you talking back to me? Or are you here to eat up all the men here? Do I need to tell your husband?
Ugh. As I was planning to leave the office, I met up with another part-time worker named Mrs. Jones. Hey, do you want to go out for lunch today? Sure, but where do you want to go? I've always wanted to go here. She showed me her phone. You know, they have a great lunch menu for around $20. It's too expensive for us to go to dinner, so for $20 lunch, maybe we can go. I wanted to talk about how bad the new CEO too. So, how about it? Alright, let's go. And so we went to a restaurant for lunch. The tables were all booked, so we ate on the counter. And we talked about work, mainly the new CEO, and how things were. When suddenly, the new CEO came in.
Oh, hey, you guys. What are you doing here?
New CEO?
This is an expensive barbecue place. Are you guys lost?
No. The lunch is less expensive.
I see. The master has let the restaurant quality go down, I guess.
And he said so. He sat 3 seats next to us and started to order food. Let's just eat, huh? Yeah, we came here to eat. But maybe because he didn't like us whispering, he moved to the seat right next to us.
I'm sorry I'm eating such expensive cuts of meat next to you guys with the cheap cuts. I didn't know there were separate menus for poor people. Here, let me see.
He checked out our food and laughed. He was spitting everywhere and it was super gross. Plus, he was so loud that the entire restaurant was glaring at us. I didn't want to be related to him at all. Then suddenly the chef from behind came out and told us to move a table that was just recently opened. Thank you very much. Great! We can eat here in peace! The new CEO looked irritated that we were moved away from him, leaving him at the counter. So he ran towards our table and pointed to the menu hanging nearby.
Hey, you guys are spending $20 on lunch? You guys are just part-timers. You shouldn't do that. This should be enough for you.
And so he took the kimchi and burnt pieces of meat to my face. He was pushing on my mouth, so I slapped everything away from me. It landed everywhere and the chef quickly came to clean him up. But because I was so infuriated, I yelled at the staff behind the counter. Master, please kick this person out. I can't enjoy the food with him around.
What are you saying, you part-timer? I spent $1,000 every month here when my father was the CEO. Do you think they'll kick me out?
$1,000 worth? Then I'll eat $2,000 worth of food today. Chef, bring out $2,000 of food, will you? But I don't have the money with me, so please put it on my name and never let this person enter this restaurant.
Are you crazy? Do you think they'll kick out a regular customer like me and put the bill on your name? A poor person like you? They wouldn't let you.
Then the manager said,
He's right. I can't kick out a regular customer. I would lose too much.
And he stared at us.
See? So, like he said, get out. Huh? I said get out! And never come to this property, Mr. CEO! Are you saying that to me? Why wouldn't I be? There isn't anyone else who yells as loud as you do, and causes trouble to everyone else here. Like today. Because you're so annoying, every other regular customer left already. Because of you! I was nice to you because the old CEO was a good man. But I've had enough of you. Plus, what are you doing talking like that to my daughter? What? Daughter?
What? The master is your father? Yep, this barbecue restaurant is actually my father's. The master is my father and chef is my mother. I'm sorry I didn't tell you. I came up with a lunch menu and didn't know it was so popular. I was a little embarrassed. I see!
Hey, you shouldn't be too brash that you're the daughter of the master of this place. If it were me, I'd...
And my mom came and kicked him out of the restaurant. The new CEO yelled,
I'm a regular customer. The customers must be treated like gods. Do you not know that?
And unexpectedly, a big client of ours happened to be eating at the restaurant. And what the new CEO did was brought to light to the old CEO. Later, the old CEO brought his son back to the restaurant and made him apologize. But this rumor was quickly spread across multiple clients, and his trust was brought down significantly. Plus, because he wasn't very popular with the clients to begin with, a lot of clients cut their deals, and the company went downhill quickly. He was quickly fired from his position, and a new employee with talent took over. The new CEO was quick to recover the company performance. Not only that, he increased the salary of every staff in the company. After that, I received a call from the ex-CEO.
Hey, your restaurant has a lot of higher-ups that come to eat, right? Could you ask me if they'll hire me somewhere? But not as a part-timer, only normal employment.
Even though he had fallen pretty badly, his attitude hasn't changed one bit. So I told him, "Hire a person like you? Who in the world would want to do that?" And I hung up on him. I don't know what happened to him after that, but I heard from an ex-coworker that he saw him wearing a helmet working at a construction site. So he must be working by the day. His pride must be in pieces, because he used to look down on part-time workers, but he gets what he deserves. Apparently, he was kicked out of the house with nothing to his name. He even had all of the debt he built from when the company was going downhill to his name. So he needs to work those off. I continued to work in the same company, and ever since the Sun CEO left, it has been great to work here.
How was today's video? If you enjoyed it, please subscribe, like, and leave a comment. Stay tuned for more.